All right, welcome back now to exercise 27. So I'm going to demonstrate for you now some scaling, intuitive scaling in two-point perspective, and we're going to use a 45-degree measuring point to do that. It's a simple technique that we can start to introduce more complex arrangements in perspective from imagination, or when you're drawing from a line for observation as well, and it will involve now two-point perspective. So we will use this technique in upcoming lessons in the future, but it's also good if you want to quickly scale down tiles on a floor or use that equal scaling spacing very quickly and more intuitively for room and interior, or for sizes of figures, etc. It's a really nice technique to utilize. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's lay down a horizon line, an eye line. I'm going to lay it down about right here in the middle. We're going to, I'll do two different types of exercises with 27. We'll work on the ground plane first, and then we'll work in the sky plane after that. So what I want to do now is just to set in a rectangle or a square look on the surface of the ground plane. Obviously this is the horizon line here, which is also our eye level, and we'll do it in 2 points. So we'll have two conclusive diminishments going left and right, which makes this the sky plane and makes this the ground plane. So I'm just going to kind of wing it here to get a square on the ground in perspective on the ground plane, and then I'm going to show you how to find a 45-degree measuring point through that really easily. So let's do that. So I'm going to shoot out here to put our cone of vision. I'm not going to draw all that today for this one. It's roughly right in through here, so we'll start that way, and I'll shoot out through here. So that'll be our left vanishing point here along the horizon line, so I'll label that LVP for left vanishing point. And it'll come out with another line about right here for the back dimension, okay, going back to the left vanishing point. So I'm going to pull in a little closer so you can see that. There we go. And then I'm going to establish where I think I want my right vanishing point for my my ground rectangular square here. So I want it roughly about right in through here. So I'm thinking about the distances between each, and so I'm going to put them probably about like this. So as I conclude that, that'll give me my right vanishing point here as that diminishment line comes back to the horizon line, and then I'll start to align back up to my right vanishing point, and then I'll start to kind of play around with this a little bit and think, okay, this is where I want that ground squarish form to look like, or that tile on the floor. So I'll lay it in through here, line it up to my right vanishing point, draw through, and now I have that tile on the ground. Okay, now, okay, how can we, what's a way to duplicate this length and width, right, and later on a full cubic-like form really quickly? Well, we can do that with a 45-degree measuring point. All right, so how do we find a 45-degree measuring point through that? Well, you remember last time in 1 point we had to go back to the station point in 45 degrees over. Here we can do something a little bit differently. From each of the corners here through the square is 45 degrees if we're talking about a 90-degree square form, which we are. So then, that makes it pretty easy for us. All we have to do is come through each ending point. Let me come in a little bit. Here and here to the eye line or the horizon line. So through there, back to the horizon line right here. That gives us a 45-degree measuring point right in through there. 45° MP. All right, so therefore we can start to project from the measuring point back to areas within where the cube or the ends of the cube touch through the measuring point to establish where the next form would be. Just like, in a way, like we were using measuring points before in 1 point. So let me demonstrate that. So through this corner here, okay, right, and through this corner here, we can establish more of our tiles or our squares or our could be cubic forms later on, the ground part on the ground through there where that touches, right, and through here where that touches here, there is a new set of tiles for us to create. So watch this, right through there, okay? It's pretty easy stuff. So where this bisects, we go right back to the right vanishing point, and there's our next tile right there. Go back to all the way through because we can set up more. Where it touches right there is a little bit off. Right there, where we need to go back to, there's our next tile. So this really creates a very easy way to duplicate accurate scale. So if this was 12 inches by, it looks like it's a little bit longer on one side, 18 inches, or we'll just call it 12 by 12. Then you could plot out equal distances. You could bring those up later on too, and you would have equal scaling. Let me come out just a little bit, and let's continue on and make more tiles. So I'll darken these in a little bit so you can see them better here and here, right? This, and then of course this was the one in the middle, was the one that we were creating off first, here and here, and of course right through there was our 45° measuring point right through from corner to corner. Of course that makes a crossing X too as well, right in through there, and that gives us back to our 45. All right, so let's create more. Let me overdraw a little bit. In this case, we have more guidelines, more diminishment lines for more tiles. So we'll overdraw now a little bit. And when I mean overdraw, I'll extend these lines outward, and then we can use our measuring point to find further lines outward. So from this point now, we'll go back to our measuring point and bisect it all the way through here, right? And also from this point right through here. So here and here, very simple. We'll come through our 45° measuring point. It's a little bit easier than doing it in 1 point, don't you think? Right in through here where it touches, right there. There's a new one, right? Right through, we'll go right through here, back to our 45° where it touches right in through there. But we've also created some more tiles over here, right here, here, and here, which creates even more tiles as well. So let me go back to the right vanishing point here. And this gets really quick as you do that there. And of course over there we've done that already, here and here. We'll line that up. Okay. Come across, go all the way back. But now we've touched and bisect here, so we can create more tiles where they touch, where I've got the little dots right there. Back to our left vanishing point and through and over. And now we've created even more sets of tiles. And of course where they touch here, where they touch here, where they touch there, or it could be here, or it could be there. Wherever they touch, you can begin to set in more tiles. And look how they line up quite nicely right in through there, all the way back. And we've got a nice gridded floor that continues out further. Pretty nice stuff that touches here. So just be careful to align as accurately as you can. Keep your pencil sharp, obviously, as always. And look at that, we're creating new tiles from that. So what we can do now is extend this out a little further if you want here, and we can extend this out further here, and we can extend this out further there. and there. And we can extend this out further there. So we can create now more tiles from that. And what we'll do is we'll extend these out further. Okay. There we go. Where they touch there. And so we'll bring some more tiles out. Let me get a longer ruler so you can see that more cleanly. There we go. From our right vanishing point out where they touch the 45-degree measuring point that goes through from corner to corner to find the center. And that's 45 degrees in an accurate equal triangle. Excuse me, square. This needs to come out one more. That will come through this point. You probably get the idea already. And you're on your way to creating a 2-point tiled floor. And you can do that any size you want and start to create some scale and distance pretty quickly. So I'll pick a point over here. I could pick it over here. I could pick it over there. They'll all line up. I'll pick it right through here. Just pick that point, that dot there where they bisect. And that takes me back to the left vanishing point now, right through there. See how they all line up, touch pretty nicely. Right in through there, and there's another set of tiles right in through there. So I'll darken these in a little bit, and we'll finish that out, and then we'll work on, we'll do the same thing in the sky plane so you get used to seeing it as well there. So we're there. And so now that you could scale these, you could give these a scaling of your own, depth and dimension. Of course, as we get further outside the cone a little bit, they get longer and more distorted. So you can make these a little smaller to begin with, and you get more in your picture plane. Through here, through there to there. There we go. And over. There we go. And then we have a nice set of tiles in through using a very simple 45-degree measuring point. Now, if you wanted to check this in one point to go back to our one-point method and create equal spaces, how would you do that? Well, we could check our work to make sure this is accurate. So let's do that. So let's do a crossing, find the center of this, right? We'll use this cube here, this square here on the floor. And you can do it to the left or to the right. I'll just do it to the left. So we'll find its true center by drawing another crossing line through. There's its center. We'll go back from the center back to the left vanishing point, right? Remember that? Okay, to find that, we'll go all the way through. Okay, remember that? Then we could come from two ways. Let's do it this way. We could come from this corner through this point, and that should get us right to there. If we line that up and look at that, bingo, right there. That's how you can check your work in this technique, and that's the next equal square. Transfer it over. And of course, you could continue to do that in one point and do it all the way over through there too as well. This technique with the 45-degree measuring point and 2-point does this for you at lightning speed. But now we just checked our work. Let's do it one more time just to prove it works all over. Because it works in one place, it works all over. But let's just, for the sake of argument, do it one more time. Let me darken this in so you can see it clearly. And we'll go through again. So let's find our center here, coming through this one. Right there, I'll do it in blue. There's our center. We'll go back to the left. This time, let's go back to the right vanishing point. We'll go back to the right. Okay, we'll find our center. To the right vanishing point, there's our center through. Okay, then we have to come through that point to recreate. So from this corner through that point, which will get us, look at that, bingo, right there. And there's our next square recreated in a one-point measuring system. We're really two now. We can go either way. And that creates our equal spaces, equal squares. Okay? Now, let's go now to exercise 27B. This was exercise 27A. Okay? And we used 2-point with 45-degree measuring points for scaling. Pretty simple stuff. Now let's go on to exercise 27B and let's recreate the same thing. Let's just do it in the sky plane. 27B now, let's recreate what we did down below. I just moved the camera, the page down a little bit so we could use the same paper. Let's just recreate the same thing now above here. We'll do something a little bit different. Now you could transfer these heights over. That would take a long time, but you would get a nice congruent kind of, in some ways, a room space, and we'll get there later on. But I just want to demonstrate the same thing and have you do it from above, and maybe we'll use the same measuring point, maybe we'll use something a little bit different. I'll just see how it goes. What you have to remember, whatever you set out below or above, no matter which, they're kind of the same thing, is that you've got to go through the corners of that form to get your 45-degree measuring point. So if you did use this point, you'd want to do it now and make sure that you set up your corners back to that point. That's particularly important. Let's use a different measuring point system or a different measuring point for this, and I'll show you how that works out. Now, if you were going to use this, so now would be the time you would draw a line through these two lines and then project back here to your left vanishing point so that they came through the corner. Remember, like these, they have to go through the corner to get 45 degrees out of what we need for a measuring point. So now I'm just going to arbitrarily set this up. Obviously here I went through the right vanishing point and threw out 2 diminishment or convergence lines, and I'll do the same thing over here a little bit. We'll go a little higher, make my dot a little stronger so you can see that, and we'll project up. And I'll try to make, what I try to do here is make these look as squarish visually as I can. And I'm going to overdraw some already so we can go a little bit quicker. So I'll overdraw, and so I'll kind of just, when I do this, I adjust my ruler down and open and down like that, or up if I need to, I suppose, to make it look a little squarish. And right there looks pretty good. And what I mean by squarish is that all sides look relatively equal in perspective. And that seems pretty good. So I'm going to overdraw that. Okay, and then there's my first square laid down. Let me darken that in a little bit so you can see it even more clearly, and then let me go in a little bit. So we're keeping our same left and right vanishing point. And let me darken this in so you can see it a little cleaner, a little clearer. There and there we go. Okay. So we're good to go there. All right. So now we can see that. Now let's find our measuring point, 45 degrees. It's probably going to be close to that one. It might even be on there. If that happens, that just happened. No, it's a little bit off. So, and the reason why it's off, and that's okay, is that I went through these 2 corners. Just obey the corners right through there, and there's our 45-degree measuring point right there. So I'll demarcate that right there. Okay, so this is 45-degree measuring point lower, and this one over here is 45 degrees MP, and then up. I'll put MPU for upper right in through there. So there's our 45-degree measuring point. Now we can continue really quickly and use our 45 degree through this corner here, right, and this corner. And I'll go ahead and draw these through a little bit further. Here and through there and out a little bit, makes it easier. Okay, so what are we looking for? Let me sharpen my pencil. Where they touch and bisect, we can find some more tiles or squares if you want. Right through here we can find one. We can find one right there. We can find one right there, or we could find one right there. Watch. So through that point we can go back to the left vanishing point here, line up nice and cleanly. Overdraw a little bit. I'll overdraw out so we have another tile there. We can do the same thing up through here. And so. And then we can do it down here. Right through there. And we can overdraw a little bit, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already laid out. I can find another one right there. So you don't really need that many measuring point lines, do you, to start to find a lot of tiles. Now, depending on what your scale is, whatever you set this up to be, you can start to put figures. Maybe these were 6 feet, so a figure would lay through here, maybe flying in the air or standing up, or etc. and so on. There are all kinds of ways that you can demonstrate that, or talk about scale to yourself and in your drawing, and utilize that in your work. Now I can find another tile here. So once I find a couple of tiles, when I draw back to either left or right, I create a lot more. How about one here? How about one there? I'm already creating, so let's create a few more. And look how fast this can go. And I've only got only three measuring point lines drawn. That's pretty powerful right there. So from here, where it touches, through here back to the left measuring point, or vanishing point now, and look how distorted this starts to get as we go further and further higher and outside the cone even. So that's pretty amazing too as well. All right, so we can draw a few more. We can pull another tile here. I see that's touching through, so we can come up this way, right in through there, and then maybe let's do one more below here. I can draw one through here or through here if I want. That gets me another one. So through the left finishing point, through the point where they bisect and touch. Remember, they'll all go through each corner, and then you can prove that now. Now you know how to prove that. We did it below. You can do the same thing if you want. And above, I won't do it because I proved it once, which is true above and below. And let's create one more row of tiles and scale here, right in through there. And we'll line up from the right vanishing point, up and through and over. And bingo, there we go. So we have a nice set of tiles to work with. Now let me darken them in a little bit so we can see them clearly. And then we'll move on to our next exercise. Of course, I broke that pencil. I've got to break a pencil at each exercise. That seems to be my MO. Right, so you can see how quickly we did that. Maybe 5 minutes into this video, we had already most of our scaling in further. This will get more complicated and more complex, and then we can start to do measuring with that, or scaling with true accurate scaling legend methods as well for even more accuracy later on here. But this opens up the technique of recreating accurate equal spaces in 2-point perspective using a 45-degree measuring point really quickly. I mean, blisteringly quickly, right? Really fast. There, and we'll darken in there and there. That seems to be pretty good. Let's create one more just for aesthetics, right through there, or we could have gone through there. We could go through both of those to create a couple of more. So we'll go through here. Okay, right through there. And back over here. I'll darken those in so we can see those already pretty quickly, and then one more set right through here. So look what we were able to draw and have with only 3 measuring point lines. We get all these equal tiles, or almost squares. They're probably not perfect squares, but they're rectangular. So they do retain 90-degree turns, which is important. And so there you go. Okay, so top and bottom now. We've used a 45-degree measuring point to give us some simple scaling methods in 2-point perspective. Let me move that up so you can see that even clearer. In a very quick, economical way. And of course, this could be a floor, this could be a ceiling, or this could be another floor like a platform when we put figures up here. If you're looking at a glass ceiling, if you will, etc. and so on, but it gives you a very quick methodology for doing this. So in exercise 28, what we'll do is we'll recreate this idea, this technique, but we'll bring up heights and make equal cubes out of that too as well. That'll be exercise 28 coming up. Okay, see you then. Okay, welcome for exercise 28. We're going to be now building off of 27A and 27B and building cubes now that we can recreate very quickly using point using a 45-degree measuring point. Okay, so let's do that now. Let's create a horizon line and also the eye level really quickly. We'll do it about center of the page or so, down and through. Here seems good. No real crazy measuring yet. All right, so we have that. So let's build a cube now in the ground plane down below, and we'll do the same thing that we did in exercise 27 with our measuring point. So I'm just going to arbitrarily lay something out here, fairly not complicated. And I'll put the first angle of the ground plane square for our cube sitting down on the ground. I'll start to throw out a line about right here. Feels good. Back to now what I've just created is a left vanishing point, LVP. And now I'll bring it out a little bit here. Okay, and through and over to about right here. I can overdraw a little bit. Okay. And so now I need something coming back over here from the right vanishing point, and I'll put it about, make sure I get it in the page. Yeah, we're in the page nicely, so I'll start it over here and through. So now that becomes my right vanishing point where it touches our horizon line, RVP. And of course, this is the horizon line. This is our eye level, HL. And EL, eye level, and horizon line. And now we need this back or the front part of our 2-point cube to come up. So we'll do that now. We'll bring it over to about right in through there. Okay, so I'll come in a little bit so we can start to see this a little cleaner, a little clearer. There we go. Make sure I keep my vanishing points in the composition. That's going to be important. There we go. Okay. So here's the bottom of what will be our cubic structure. Now we need a 45-degree measuring point. So right through here and here will get us that 45-degree measuring point. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And then we're going to bring up the height of our cube. I'm just going to bring it up arbitrarily for now. So I'll go back to find our 45. You know how to do that from lesson 27 right there. There's our 45-degree measuring point for our lower, right through there. Okay, so now I'll just bring up an arbitrary height, and I'll make it look kind of square box-ish, if you would, or cube. I guess there's a word for that. It's a cube, duh. And so I'll bring it up. Let's see, okay, starting here to about right there. I want to keep it in the ground plane so that looks comfortable. Right there, I'll stop. And let's finish out our cube now. We know how to do that. 2-point cube. So we'll take it back to the left vanishing point here. Right, back to the right vanishing point to the other side since we've established the height of the cube. Right there. Okay, and over. And now we'll find in this corner to go up. Stop where it meets the diminishment convergence line right there. Make sure that's nice and vertical. There we go, right through there. And also right here where it touches. We'll go up. It's not quite a cube, but it's close enough. So it's a little bit rectangular. Okay. And then we'll draw back to our diminishment lines for the left and right vanishing point. Fairly close to the horizon line, so it's going to be a sliver on the top. Here to the left vanishing point, and then now back to the right vanishing point on the other side. As you know this already. Pretty well right there, and that's where they meet. And that will touch up and meet our back height right there. It's where they meet up nice and clearly, right in through there. So let me darken in this cube a little bit, the outside part, especially where we see here and right there. Okay, and right here and also right there. There we go. Okay, so now we've got a darkened in cube that you can see a little bit better. All right, so let's use our 45-degree measuring point like we did in our previous lesson. Let me come in a little bit further. In the camera, I'm going to crop out the vanishing points. I'll just say when you draw back to them, you know how to align them. So I think I want you to see this a little closer so you get a good fresh idea of what we're doing here. We're recreating not only the tiles, but we're also bringing up the height really quickly. It makes it really nice and quick. So here's our 45-degree measuring point. So through this corner and through this corner, we can start to reference now more cubes. So through here where it bisects, I'm going to overdraw a little bit there and also right through there. Okay, now we're good to go. Okay, so we have that. And so we can start to establish a couple of things. We can start to establish where that bisects here. We can start to put our next cube. So we'll lay that down. So I'm aligning from this point back to the left finishing point, which would be a little bit out of your screen, right there. So I can align it, draw over and back and through. Okay, we've got that. Now I need one over here. So I don't have that yet. Now we can use our old system, okay? We can do that, or we can create a little bit more coming over here if we want, right? And then recreate that back over in here. So that's pretty easy. Or I could draw back through here and find another point to find my next cube over. So let's do that. So through this point, because remember, I need to set up, we're going to set up 1, 2, 3 equal spaced forms, these cubic forms, one here, one here, one here, but I don't have a reference point over here yet, and I need one. So how do I need to bring this over. So from here, we'll go back to the right vanishing point, okay? So I'm aligning that up. Go back to my RVP, right through here to here, okay? Draw through, okay? Now that gives me a point I can draw from my 45 through that point. Okay, let's do that. So we have a point, so I'll line up my 45 degree, my ruler to my 45 degree to that point right there. There we go, bingo, through there. Okay, now where that touches, right there, bingo. Now I have the length of this one here in perspective and over here from my 45. So now I can come back from my left finishing point through this point and out, or back actually, to give me the distance of what I need over to the left, and in this case the right cubic form over. Now we have the spacing through here. So I'm going to darken this line up a little bit here and here, right there, so you can see these where all these cubes are going to be sitting on the ground. Now we need to transfer this height over both forward to the right and back to the left. Very easy from excuse me, the right vanishing point. I'll line these heights back up, overdraw a little bit here and here where they can align. Now I can bring my height here and here up. Grab my trusty triangle. Okay, bring my T-square up here and here. There we go. Right through here to there. I stop. There's the height as it gets a little closer to us, and then it's diminishing a little bit further away. So, and of course we can do this all over. We can bring these, make cubes of these. They'll get in the way a little bit, but hopefully you'll get the idea very quickly. All right, so now I'll darken these in. So these are going to be in front. We'll see these. I'll darken these a little bit darker. Cleaner running through there. There we go. Okay. So now I can start to bring this back and over. That's where that touches. That height comes up. So I need to converge to the left finishing point from here over to the left. It's pretty intuitive now. We've already got our equal space measurement from our measuring point, 45 degree, back to the left vanishing point, and then through this corner up, right here, right here, up and through. Let me get in there pretty close. There we go. So bring it up, 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 right till there, and we stop. Darken that in so you'll see it, and then back to the left finishing point to darken it in a little bit further, right there, bingo. Now these should line up pretty nicely, right in through here, back to our right finishing point, so we can finish out our cubes both inside and out, right through there. They line up pretty nicely. There they are, from the right finishing point through. There they go. Now let me darken them in. Actually, I'll finish this one out. Here's the corner. Right in through there, it's hidden a little bit. Almost lines up with the front corner, but it's about right. And I'm going to get my other pencil. Pretty sharp. Make sure it's sharp. So it aligns up right, looks like to me about right there. So it's a little bit not quite equal, which is good always. It's nice when they're not. They can line up. It's okay. It's still correct. Right in through, there's that, the very back corner transparent through, and now we need to come from this right corner back to, go back to our left finishing point, so we can finish out our 3 equal spaced 2-dimensional box forms. Here and right there. There we go, where they bisect. So let me darken this in further. You can do it too, because now we have our goal was 3 equal spaced cube forms, box forms, in 2-point using a 45 degree found 45 degree measuring point. Now, you can set in the measuring point beforehand. It's a little bit harder. As long as it comes through, look, as long as it comes through that corner, that's what you have to be careful of. It can't come anywhere else, then you're in trouble. It's not a 45 degree measuring point, so be careful of that. That's the problem if there really is one. Okay, and I'll darken in this bottom a little bit, and there you go. Now we pull out a little bit. Here we go, and now we have 3 nice equally spaced box forms using a 45 degree measuring point in 2-point perspective. So that's exercise 28A. Okay, there's 28A. Let's go on now to exercise 28B, and let's do it up here. So I'm just going to bring down the piece of paper. So we'll come right back. Exercise 28B. So let's recreate something like this, but now let's do it in the sky plane so you can see how that works and get a good visual take on that. So we'll still use a 45 degree measuring point, but we'll use a different one. We'll call it measuring point upper for our 2-point cube form. So we'll do 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6. Let's see how that works out. All right, so again, the first thing I'm going to do now is to project convergence lines or depth projections up so we can get the underneath of our cube here, or you could do the top too, but we'll do the underneath. So let's project down a line here, and let's project out a convergence line here, and then of course we'll need to do it the opposite way, coming from the right vanishing point through here. And so I'm trying to get like a cube-like look to our forms for now. Out through here, then I'll overdraw some, and then I'll come over and maybe say, okay, maybe it's going to be about right in through there. Okay, so we need our 45 degree measuring point, so we know that in these corners we'll get a 45 degree measuring point here and here, and we can relate that back to, again, the horizon line. So here and through here, right, you see that? There and there, and then we'll go right through there to the horizon line, or eye level, right there. So there's our 45 degree point right there. So I'll put 45 degree measuring point and then U for upper. Okay, so now let me pull in a little bit further. And just remember that anytime I reference going back to the left vanishing point or the right vanishing point, that's where I'll go. Let's go deeper now so you can start to see this a little bit better. I'll bring this down so we can see it a little clearer now. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to get a cube, finish the cube out, and let's go ahead and put the top on that. That's not a straight line. That's a 45-degree measuring point in perspective back to our horizon line. So let's bring up vertical here in perspective. Nice and true vertical, about, oh, that high will be plenty high enough. Then we'll bring that back, that height back to the left and right vanishing point. So we'll use our convergence line here and here, back through and down to the left and also down to the right side. So I'm overdrawing quite a bit through there. Okay, and then we're going to end our cubic form right along through. Were's the vertical coming over, meeting up on the other side through. Here's our bottom right in through there. Okay, and we're right here. There we are. We will meet up right there. Okay, so I'll overdraw, or I'll draw this in darker so you can see it. Try to keep my head out of the way. If it's in the way, it will just be momentary. So we can see there and there. Okay, so we'll end it on the other side now, coming up and over, back and through. Okay, right up and through here. You know, one thing we do need actually, we have to be careful where the bottom and the top meet. I'm going to clarify this even further, because probably more than likely your drawing will be just a little bit different from mine, since it probably won't match up completely to the position. So this could get a little confusing. I can see this. So here's the bottom of the cube. All right. Now we have the dimension coming back here. What we need now is from this corner to meet this corner. It's going to be a straight line in through here. Right there is where they meet up. Right there. Okay. That's our dimension coming through. Okay. Now, from this corner, they kind of meet up through here, so that's our dimension coming out. And then to get finally our right side of our cube right in through there. So they're really awfully close right in through here where they meet up. That's our back. This straight line over the blue measuring point and through here, they're so close, they almost match up. But you can tell where the straight line is here and where the angle is here. It leaves just a little bit there. That's our back corner looking through the cube, meets up here, going back to the right vanishing point, meets up here, going back to the left vanishing point. So there's our first cube. Now we can reference all those points and draw from that. So let's do that now. Let's take from our 45-degree measuring point, and let's start to now draw out a little bit. And so we can relate, well, line up here with my measuring point, come through this point here, up and over, okay? I'll come through this point here, up and through there. Where they bisect here, right, and here, that gives us the beginning for our next cube, the floor of the cube, looking up to the from the ground plane up to our eye line up to the cube here. So what that means is through here, through the left vanishing point, through where that line, the blue measuring point line, bisects in through there, that's our next cube, right there. There it is. So I'll draw a little bit darker so you can see it. And through here. There we go. And through here. There we go. Okay, we have that. Now we also have it on this side, so we'll do it on both sides a little bit so you can see that. So from the right vanishing point over through here, I'm lining up on the right. You can't see it in the camera. Lining up, drawing through and over, all the way through. There's our next cube, right, or the bottom of our next cube right there. So now I'll draw over, right there where it connects up, and also right there where it connects up. So that's our next bottom. So we can draw those in. So let me sharpen up just a bit here. And we can work those. Let's bring up the height of the cubes on their respective left and right sides. So we'll bring that up here. Okay, and up and through till it meets the height right there for that side, right in through there. And then I'll darken that in a little bit so you can see that a little bit better, a little bit clear. Make sure you line up that ruler nice and tight right through there. And then of course on the other side we'll raise our height. It'll be on the right side of the cube, this cube now. So all of these cubes, it might not be a perfect cube because we haven't talked about that yet, but what we are doing is creating equal cubes. They're all now the same height, length, and also width because of our 45-degree measuring point. So we have that. So we're ready to create another set. How do we do that? The same way we did the others. Through our 45-degree upper measuring point. So it's right here. And we'll go through, you guessed it, right through that corner right there. There's where our next cube starts. Right there, I'll mark it, demarcate it so you can see it. Here it is right there. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Okay, what a wonderful technique that is. And then through that corner point, we can reference over and through, right? And right there where it touches, that's our next cube right there. So we now have all the information we need to complete this out. So let's start from our left vanishing point, and we'll go through our reference point for our corner right there. It's all about recreating scale in other places. It's pretty nice. You could recreate that way on down the line here and skip all these steps. Or you could bisect at center like we did in one point. And that's another technique too as well. And we can prove that this works. We'll do that in a moment with our other technique. We can counter measure that and make sure all this is accurate to what we've learned prior. So all of these cubes are connected, they're glued together. That connects there, that connects up there. Let's bring up our height. Now I'm not going to draw the insides of these just to expedite time, and there'll be a lot of lines. We did the first one, and that's good enough. So there is our next cube, and we've created that, and now we can trace over that top line there. We've got our next one. Okay, and now we know where to start the last cube here on the left. All right, we take from the right vanishing point, line up and come through our bisecting point right there, or a reference point, however you want to say it, all the way through and over and right through there. There's where our bottom starts, and we stop where that distance is, where it meets up. Then I'll trace over that a little darker so you can see it nice and clean there. And also here, we'll line up there and there. And now we know where to take our height from the corner up to where the height of the left side of this cube stops, which is right there. Bingo. And then now we can trace over this height here on this side and all over it. Now we have 3 equal cubes on each side of our center one, or 2 on each side of our center one, to make 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 cubes in perspective. Now if you wanted to make one more over here, how would you do that? The same way. Go to your measuring point through that corner where they bisect. That's where you start and bring this over. And pretty soon you learn how to bisect all these, and you can make a whole room of cubes or Rubik's Cubes. It's pretty exciting. Now, let's take this, let me bring this down a little bit, and let's prove this works a little bit further. Okay, so let's take and do our old measuring system, and let's prove that these are all equal sized cubes. So how do we do that? Well, we'll find the center face. Center, we'll bisect the center there and there. They just happen to come through there. There's our true center right there. Okay, we go back to the right vanishing point. Through there, right, back and through. There's our true center all the way back and through, right? Okay, now we need a line from this point, right, through this corner, and that should meet right there to prove it. Bingo. There it is, right there. That would be we would recreate our next cube there. That works. Now we can do the same thing because we found our center through here, which is our center line. Now we would do the same thing through this corner, through this point to get us that cube. Right there and there. A little thick on that side, but you get the idea. Not bad. Right through there. And how do we recreate the next one? If I wanted to recreate one more, I could do it the old way, or I could do it the 45-degree method way. I could come through blue line, coming through here where it bisects and on up, or now this is a pretty easy method too. I could just recreate the next one. Let's recreate one here. Keep my pencil a little bit sharper. Right through there. There's where our next cube falls. Right there. So we proved each method works by using both methods to recreate cubes. And then we'll go back to the left vanishing points here and over and start to get a little bit more distorted as we get a little bit further outside of the cone. So now you understand the cone and what it does for us as well. There, and we'll tighten up here, right, and we'll tighten up and darken up right in through here, and there you go. And two methods, proving it by both methodologies there, and you could do the other side if you wanted. Let's just make it equal. Let's put one more cube on the other side, and we'll do the 45-degree method technique for our measuring point, from the upper measuring point here through this corner, right through here, right through, where it touches and bisects. That's where we start our next cube. Now from the right vanishing points, back through the cube, back to the bottom there, right through there, over until it meets right there, and we bring up our height, and we've already got our height guides for that diminishment there, or that inclination there. We stop, and I'll just trace over. Here we go, and that should give us six cubes, 6 box-like forms in 2-point perspective that are all equal in space. So what a wonderful technique that's simple and easy to use, based off of simple, easy perspective rules. Remember, there are only 4 rules of perspective, and there we go. There you have your 6 equally spaced cubes. And of course we have 3 here we could pull over. So let me pull out a little bit, we'll review, and then we'll move on. Here we go. Exercise now 28, working with 45-degree measuring point in 2-point perspective. Now moving beyond just tiles, but making them even more 3-dimensional. This was exercise 28A here down below, and 28B in perspective. So this would be a wonderful technique now to use for more complex situations in 2-point and also 1-pointer combined as well. Okay, exercise 28. Now we'll go on to 29.